Jen from JLA Music.com. For those of you who don't know me, I am a piano teacher of over 25 years, and on my channel I like sharing tips, tricks, techniques, instructional videos, anything that can help you to learn to play the piano and to really enjoy playing the piano. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Please click the bell icon so that you are notified whenever I upload a new video. Today's topic is advice for adult piano students. This can be for somebody who is thinking of starting completely from the beginning, somebody who's looking to get back into it, or for somebody who's currently learning and just might want a little bit of advice on how to structure their learning. My first tip would be to know your why. Over the years, I've had many consultations with adult learners, and some of the most popular reasons for starting to think about lessons could be that you played as a child. You might have family that play, so children, grandchildren, a spouse. It's something that was your lifelong dream. I hear that one a lot. It could be a hobby, say in your retirement or in your spare time, or if you had some lifestyle changes. To have something for your brain to focus on, such as grades or a performance, and even learning to play a really special sentimental song. I really love that reason. I've had that a few times, and that one always holds a bit of a special place. So knowing your why will help to motivate you. I think that's a fairly obvious thing, but it's something that not enough people really do think about before they start learning. Why am I doing it? It will also help to structure a pathway for you. So something that your teacher can then look to say, right, well, this is the pathway, this is the best way for you to get there. So knowing your why and also writing it down. Write it down. If you have a teacher say in the back of your homework book or somewhere that they log your homework, or if you're self-taught, then somewhere that you log your practice sessions and what you went over. Keep that somewhere that you can constantly refer to it when practices might get a little bit tougher. Number 2, find the right teacher. Something that you need to consider when you're looking for a teacher is location, obviously, the lesson time, because again, you may not function that well in the morning, so having an 8 AM lesson might not work for you. So thinking about those kinds of things as well. The goal that we just talked about in point number 1. Price. Now, by this, I don't mean, is the teacher too expensive? Teachers, they structure their pay dependent on many factors. It could be to do with expertise, the area you live in, many different things. What I really mean is really stop to consider if that price is something that you can commit to, and give that due consideration before really starting to think about these lessons. Do you gel with that teacher? This is a very open-ended question. Try and speak to a few different teachers and see which one just might fit with your personality best. It doesn't mean, as in life, that the personality of the person you don't gel with as much, that there's anything wrong with them. There are teachers out there for everyone. It's just best that you find the right fit for you so that they can get the most out of you. If they are able to offer you some form of consultation, it will just give you that chance to try out that conversation, to see if it flows, to see if they put you at ease. Number 3, find the right books or learning material. There are a number of books that are geared towards adult learners. Some better than others, in my opinion. I'm not going to say which. I've actually had a number of adult students learn from the children's books because they find that more step-by-step procedure works better for them. There is no shame in that. At the end of the day, when you get to your goal, no one's going to ask you how you got there. So really finding the right material that works for you. Your teacher should be able to give you a few different options and a few different pathways, and even with the learning material, the one thing I would say is if you are following a book, please don't be afraid to come out of that book to reinforce a certain subject. One of the books that I do tend to use with, I'd say, most of my adults, but again, not all, everybody's different. There are a few pieces that it's a bit of a jump to get to. So what we tend to do is to learn that piece and then come out of the book and learn some more pieces that deal with that same topic. The one I have in my head just has a bit of a tricky time signature. So we try really hard to secure that time signature by coming out of the book and then going back in. So you use them as a reference and as a way of motivating yourself, but they aren't exclusively the thing that you go from page to page to page. Number 4, figuring out the right time to practice. This will increase your productivity and how effective your practice is without it driving you slightly bonkers. I do have a blog and another video to do with practice routines and the benefits and importance of them, so I'll link those down below for you. But knowing your specific timings, and again, these can change, they don't have to be set in stone. You do have to give yourself a little bit of a break sometimes with this, but just knowing a rough time, that will help you just to be in the right frame of mind when you sit down to start. Number 5, this does go kind of hand in hand with number 4, but know that your state of mind can affect your practice. You are not a machine, and being an adult learner, my adults over the years have really put pressure on themselves to be the same every single time, to be very productive, and really, you're human. You are going to have days where you might have a headache, it might have just been very busy, or for some unknown reason your head's just not quite there. Please understand that that's not going to be the case for every practice, and you will get yourself back. I go through the same thing where sometimes I'll sit down to learn a song that really should be pretty easy for me, and with one thing and another I start it and just think, oh, I'm just not doing it justice today. So I'll play something that I already know and I'll feel a lot better. But I know that over all the years of trials and tribulations to do with trying to learn a piece when I'm really not in the right frame of mind for it. And actually that is one of the biggest things that I think adults really do, is to put themselves under pressure. So just know to take a little bit of a break and come back when you're feeling a little bit better. Number 6, do not think that children are the best learners. If I had £1 for every time one of my adult consultations said, I wish I'd learned as a child because I'd be so much better at it. There are pros and cons to both. Learning as a young child, learning as a teenager, learning as an adult, it really doesn't matter. There are so many good things that you can bring to the piano as an adult. For example, you're self-motivated. I do see a lot of young children that are put into lessons probably more from the parent or guardian's point of view because they really think it'd be good for them, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, but you do have to then encourage and find a love from that person who's playing for the piano. It's not that easy sometimes, and you do have to be a bit careful with how you approach it, but adults come to the piano because they've decided that that's what they wanted to do, and actually that's a brilliant starting point. One of the other things is understanding concepts around some of the topics that you're being taught, your life experience, even just certain things like maths, in music theory particularly. A lot of my adults will be able to equate that to something else that they've learned. So knowing things behind that topic is really helpful, and a lot of my adults will ask questions. No questions are silly. Your knowledge of yourself. You are probably more likely to know from your past experience of yourself how you work best and what doesn't work for you, and that can actually really help your teacher to structure your lessons correctly as well. Number 7, know how to practice. Again, the blog post I was talking about earlier in the video, I will link below. If you can set yourself realistic goals and give yourself a little bit of grace and follow a sort of structure to your practice, again, this will just take that pressure off you. Do know when to stop, because you're not a machine, but knowing how to practice can sometimes be a really big thing for adults, especially if you're short on time. Still following those same rough procedures in a very short window can give you a really effective practice. Number 8, don't be afraid to go back. Now this is a funny one for me because when I think of this, it just reminds me of my husband. We can be driving in completely the wrong direction and he will not want to turn around. And I do understand it to a certain extent, not if we're like really lost. But actually, when I teach my adults, something that is really prevalent through probably I'd say 95% of them is that they really put themselves under pressure to learn something in a week to have it done for next lesson. And if it goes backwards for some bizarre reason, they really get frustrated with themselves. Some skills just take that little bit longer. And unfortunately, as a musician, you will realise that sometimes your hands will learn something and for some reason they'll unlearn it. There are many different reasons for that. Just know it's part and parcel of being a pianist. Don't be afraid to go back over a subject or a skill. Some things will need reinforcing as you learn maybe like a slight sideways path to it. One of the most common ones I actually see is in counting. You might learn a certain way of counting and then you're introduced to a new time signature and the two then just get confused. So again, take that time to go back and relearn something. You'll always learn it better. You will never go back as far as you did when you didn't know it. So just know that going backwards and doing things is actually the right thing to do, and never be afraid to ask to do that. Number 9, consider doing music theory. Music theory is the written, I guess what we would call the written side of music, or the things that you see on the page. It's the understanding behind those things. So you would go into detail about time signatures, key signatures. It's actually really good stuff to know. Not all teachers offer theory. I do. I try to operate a system where if we are doing grades, we would go grade 1 practical, grade 1 theory, roughly at the same sort of time, because I feel like the two will bounce off of each other. But actually, if you're not doing a grade pathway, that is absolutely fine. Quite a lot of my adults who aren't doing graded pathways still do music theory and actually get a lot out of it. They'd be able to tell you that they see things on the music that they then just have an understanding of, and they can almost work it out for themselves. My job, I always say, is to make my students self-sufficient, and theory really helps with that side of things. So if you are having lessons with a teacher, maybe broach the subject. There are many different pathways into theory. You can follow a graded system. You don't have to take the grade if you don't want to. Just work through the books. There are other books out there that you can do. There are even fast track courses that will get you up to grade 5 speed fairly quickly. So find what works for you and what works for you best for your timing. If you are self-taught, I do actually offer a theory marking service, and so you can always contact me through JLAmusic.com, and we can kind of discuss how that works. But it's just something that might help you to maybe get started with it if you have got a teacher who maybe doesn't want to broach that subject or doesn't really have the time for it. Number 10, the biggest one for me, be proud of yourself. You are outplaying everybody who never decided to start, and that takes an awful lot of courage just to even start thinking about it, start contacting teachers, getting the consultations in. Be really proud of yourself. Keep that why in your head. You know, these things aren't a one-size-fits-all. I think I say that in every blog, every video, but actually it's a really individual thing. Your goals are individual, your pathway is individual, and so you have to really understand yourself in order to know how to keep yourself going through all this. Be really proud of the decision that you've made. I promise you, if you stick at it, it will pay off in so many ways. Now that I've obviously finished my grades a long time ago, playing the piano is the one thing that really relaxes me at the end of the day. And as obviously my life has changed, now I've got children and another business on the side of my teaching, the playing the piano at the end of the day is the thing I can really look forward to. Christmas music is my thing. I do play Christmas music pretty much all the time. But honestly, know yourself and be proud of what you're doing, and you will reach your goals, I promise you. I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It will really help me to know what kinds of videos to make and what subjects people are really looking for. Again, I will link the other videos that are applicable to this one and the blog in the description box below, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.